Oh, hey Lakshmi, I'm trying something crazy out. I'm going to try your lesson with touching the board. So here's how it goes. All right. Okay, everybody, we are going to now move on from our Notice and Wonder, and we're going to go into an activity tonight. It's called Precipitation Towers. And it's actually an activity that was created by the Global Precipitation Measurement Mission. And as you can see here, a picture of the world, and we have this satellite flying around. Why do you think we would have that kind of picture connected with precipitation towers? Okay, so let's move on. So I know we just had a discussion that kind of incorporated precipitation, but at this point I want you to turn and talk to the person next to you, and I want you to focus for 1 minute on this one question. What is precipitation? And with your partner, I'd like to see if you can come up with a definition between the two of you. So, what is precipitation? Okay, that's the end of the minute. I'd like you and your partner to have another minute of discussion, and I'd like you to focus on this part. And now we have a nice picture of the world brought to you by what appears to be that satellite. All right, so here's the other question I'd like you to talk about with your partner. What do you know about precipitation? Do all places on Earth get the same amount and type? Why or why not? So take a moment to think and then talk with your partner about this question. All right. So now that we've started thinking about it, I am going to have you do a short piece of writing. I'm going to pass out to you a handout, and make sure you put your name on it, but I only want to focus on the very first part. So while I'm handing it out, I'll also get it up on the board for you. Can you please pass this around? Thank you. Okay, so everyone has in front of them a handout. You've got your name on it, and the handout is called Precipitation Towers, and this is the handout we'll be using tonight as we do the activity. I want you to focus first on the section that's called Engage. You just engaged with your partner, and you had a discussion about precipitation. Now I'd like you to take what you've talked about, and in your own words, jot down some information. So the first question says, what do you know about precipitation? And as you can see, there's a bit of space here. You can write a 1 or 2 sentence answer, and it's followed by a second part to the question, which is, do all places on Earth get the same amount and type? Why or why not? And again, you've got a small amount of space to jot down your thinking there. So I'm going to ask that we take about 3 minutes for everybody to work on that. And when you finish with the engage, just stop and wait. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, now that you've done the engagement worksheet, is to just put it to the side. We'll need it in a few minutes, but I want to explain a little bit more about how this activity will work. So this first slide is going to give you an overview of the activity, and then I'm going to get into the details of how we're going to do it. So this is the overview. To compare precipitation for different locations, you will be making precipitation towers using cubes and a template, such as the example for Washington, D.C. You can see there's a photograph here. So here is what was called the precipitation towers. And you can see they're built, they're vertical, they're built by these cubes. And you can also see on a piece of paper a map with some other information down below. So this is what, as we go through the activity, what you're going to be creating. Let's focus on this piece of paper. Okay. I'm going to pass out to you the same sheet of paper, and then we're going to kind of go over all of its parts. Please pass it out. Okay. So everyone's got a handout in front of them. I just want to note that while mine is going to be talking about Washington, D.C., you may notice that your map and your location is of a different place, and that's intentional. But for the sake of this model, I just wanted to show you along with Washington, D.C. So let's see how we're going to look at it. Okay. So the middle section has been highlighted in red, so I want to draw your attention to this middle section. In the middle is the name of the location and the latitude and longitude. So for my example, it says precipitation data, intermediate, Washington, D.C. And then it says location, and you can see that it says 38.89 north degree latitude, 77.04 degrees west longitude. So the takeaway here is noticing the place. And you can take a moment right now and locate this red box, or it's not red on your paper, but locate this box and locate the place. All right, what kind of place did you find? What place are you going to be looking at? Okay, what place will you? Okay, how about you? What place? Right, okay. So next, I want to draw your attention to the table at the bottom. So we're looking at the table on the bottom of your sheet. The data table shows the average amount of precipitation per month for this location. So you can see the table is organized with a series of 2 rows and 12 columns. And if you look at the top, you'll see that it goes January, February, March in that top row and extends all the way to December. And then the bottom row contains numbers such as 3.22, 2.68 in my case. On your sheet, you'll have the months, but the data, the numbers will be different because it's specific to your location. By the way, these numbers, what are we dealing with? What are we measuring this precipitation in? Right, inches. So I just want to note here that you know we're building towers with blocks, and each of these little cubes or blocks are going to represent 1 inch. So we have a situation here because while you could have 3 cubes equaling 3 inches, I don't have 0.22. We're not going to cut and break these cubes up. So what should we do? Right, we should definitely round. So the general rule for rounding is what? Right, if it's 4 or less, round down. If it's 5 or more, round up. So in this case, since we're looking at the decimal 0.22, the 2 tells us to round down, so we're going to round that to 3 inches. Just out of curiosity, looking at February, it says 2.68. 2.68 inches. So would you round down to 2 inches or round up to 3 inches? Right, round up to 3 inches. Okay, so we've got our data table. Next, I want to draw your attention to the top of the page. The top of the page is like the data table in that it's arranged from January, February, March, all the way through December. Think of this as your mat where you're going to be placing your cubes. So for example, in this Washington, D.C. example, January has 3.22 inches of rain. We round down to 3 inches. I'm going to build a tower here in this January spot that represents 3 inches. And if a cube equals 1 inch, how many cubes will my tower be? Right, 3, and I will literally build it up from there. I'm going to skip this part. Okay, so let me go back to this. So before we get started, I just want to tell you one final step because this activity is really a 2-step activity. So the first step is, once you get your cubes, you're going to actually build the graph. I'm just going to write this on the board as a to-do. Number 1, build graph. And I wish I had a black pen to make it more visible. All right, so that's the first thing you're going to do. Once you build your graph, The second thing you're going to do is you're going to go back to that handout that I gave to you initially. Let me go back to it. Yep. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to go back to that handout. We've already done the engage, and you're going to begin with the explore section. Let me scroll it up. And you can see in the explore section, there's a series of questions you can answer. So once you build your graph, the second step is go back to the handout and begin answering questions on the handout. Let me write that down. Answer questions on handout. Okay, so I'm going to get everyone their cubes. Do you have any questions before we get started? Okay, so once you have your cubes, you're ready to start doing number 1, build a graph. All right, Lakshmi. I'll talk to you on the phone.